Hi, I would like to talk about a new feature in the Alma March 2015 release, Shared Vendors in the Network. Now the story here is for consortia, networks of several institutions. They can now manage vendors on the network level, and these vendors will be shared by every member in the institution. So every member does not need to create a vendor for themselves. They get the information straight from the network. So all vendors can be managed and edited in the same place. And in addition, any member institution that so wishes can of course add their own vendors locally as well. So we have shared vendors and we have local vendors. And the shared vendors are updated and managed by the network, with some fields in the vendors that still need to be updated locally, such as the vendor interface. So let's take a look first at what this looks like on the network side. We'll look at the vendors, and then we'll run a job that distributes the changes and edits made to the vendors. So I am now in the Alma of the network institution. And let's take a look at our list of vendors. I go into Acquisitions Vendors. And here we have all of the vendors managed by the network. And all of these will be distributed to the members. For the sake of demonstration, I just created a new vendor called AA New Vendor. And we'll see that this vendor will be distributed as well to the member institutions. Now, in order to distribute the vendors, I need to run the distribute acquisitions to members job. And for that, I first need to configure a parameter that enables this job to run. So this parameter is found under Alma menu, Acquisitions Configuration menu, and under General Other Settings, we have this parameter Acquisition Distribution Job. And this has to be set to true in order for the job to run so you can distribute vendors. By default, it's set to false. So you have to go in here and update the parameter value. And we have another parameter here that's interesting to note, acquisition distribute changes last run, which saves the time of the last run. So now let's run the job to distribute the vendors to the members. So Alma menu, I go into Monitor Jobs, and we'll look at our schedule jobs. This job is a scheduled one. And under Filter, we'll select Acquisition. And here is our job, Distribute Network Acquisition Changes to Members. So let's run this job now. Run now. And we'll take a look at the running jobs. Now, depending on the number of vendors and the number of member institutions, this job's length may vary. Let's give it a refresh. Great, so it looks like the job has run. Let's go into history. And we can see that the Distribute Network Acquisition Changes to Members job has completed successfully. Let's go into the report. And we can see that records processed are 100. So we have 2 institutions, and each one of them had 50 vendors updated. Let's take a look at the vendors. So we can see that our 2 member institutions have each had 50 vendor records distributed to them. And now let's go into one of the member institutions and see that the distributed vendor, including the new vendor we created, was indeed distributed. So I'm now in the Alma of the member institution. Let's take a look at the vendors. Now, newly distributed vendors are by default inactive because there's certain information that needs to be filled in on the local level, and only then the vendor can be activated. So let's filter by inactive to see our newly distributed vendors. And as we can see, the new vendor we added was also distributed, and right now it's inactive. And you'll notice this column over here, shared. This signifies all of the vendors that are shared and they're managed on the network level. So as I've mentioned before, some of the vendor data is global and managed in the network, and some needs to be updated locally. So let's take a look. Let's edit our member and see what we need to add. If I just try to save it now, Alma will tell me which information is missing. So the information that needs to be managed locally is EDI information, vendor account, and access provider and vendor interface. So in this case, Alma is telling me that we need to have at least one active vendor interface. So we'll add that. Okay, bit of a tongue twister. Save. And now we can also make this vendor active now that we've added the interface. Let's see if Alma requires any more information. No, the save was successful. And we can see now in our list of active members our new new vendor. And you'll notice that it's a shared vendor managed on the network level. And of course, each member institution can also add their own local vendors here by clicking Add Vendor, as was previously available. So that's how you can manage and edit vendors on the network level and have shared vendors in the Alma network. Thank you.